I mean, when you join EXP, your world really expands. I mean, the EXP, that's why we're EXP, everything grows exponentially. Your world expands. It's all about expansion and in every single way. Maybe EXP is not right for every single agent. You have to be a go-getter. You have to want it. You have to be a certain caliber of person. If you don't want to come play with us, then you don't have to, but everybody's going to come eventually. You might as well come.
All right. Well, here we are with Sylvia Dana. Hello, hello. Welcome.
Hi, Julie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we are going to talk about you today. So I get to interview you. So I guess let's just get to it. I guess introduce yourself, your name and where you live, and how long you've been in the real estate market.
So I am Sylvia Dana. I live in the Grand Rapids area in Michigan. So it's West Michigan. So, I'm from Michigan. So I got to show the hand. And I think it's opposite of what it's supposed to look like here. So there's Detroit, and I'm in Grand Rapids area, which is over here.
Okay.
And I've been in real estate since November 1st of 2016.
Okay. All right. And what did you do before you got into real estate?
Variety of things. Right before I got into real estate, I was selling cars, and I had been in the car industry since about 2011, up until I became a real estate agent. But had still been selling cars about 3 years before I became an agent. And before that, I was in marketing and digital commerce type situations. I was a high school teacher. I taught for 7 years, and I loved that. I never want to actually leave the industry of teaching. It's just that circumstance forced me, because I was in a different state and I had to move back to Michigan because my mom was sick, and it was like 2007 and everybody was leaving Michigan. Enrollment was down. It was just no one was hiring teachers. So I got into marketing and sales, which was really my jam anyway. So it made sense. And then before that, I was a journalist. So that was my original degree, was journalism. I was a writer and an editor. And
well, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Well, can you tell me about your first year in real estate and why? I mean, how did you stumble upon real estate?
Well, it's so funny because I remember when I was teaching, it's pretty poor. And I used to go into Barnes and Noble, and I couldn't buy the books, but I could read the books. And that's back in the day where they actually had like chairs next to the books. Like they stopped doing that, where you could like sit and like treat it like a library. But I used to go and read books, and I read this book called Enlightened Way to Wealth. This is back in like, I don't know, it was like 2005, 6. And I was also, and I really thought that was an interesting book. And I was kind of on this path, like, how do I get from here to there, and that was in the day too, back in the day when they had like the VHS tapes you could buy to learn how to be like a real estate tycoon, how to like buy and sell real estate. And I was like, totally, I basically lived on like $1,200 a month, and I was a single mom and owned a house. And like, if one bad thing happened, if I had to get a car repair, my whole world would be gone, so I really had no business even thinking this way, really, because I had no money. Like, how was I going to buy something? But I knew like real estate was the way to wealth. And I just never at that time really did anything with it. I didn't think about, I should be a real estate agent. That seemed like, I'm not going to be able to do that. Yeah. And part of it was a mindset thing. I remember even when I bought my own house for the first time on my own. And I remember telling my mom, hey, I'm about to close on my house. She's like, you can't buy a house. It was like, it was like this mentality of that, how you're going to be able to do that. So I had to push on my mindset quite a lot. And so, what happened is, through a series of events, I ended up becoming a Mary Kay consultant. And I started learning how to be an entrepreneur and changing my mindset and reading a lot of entrepreneur type mindset books. And really, I knew that I could do a lot. Like I knew I was capable. I just felt, so what's the word? held down. I don't know. Like, I wasn't sure how I could break through, but I wanted to really bad. and so, I just was, and I didn't really know how I was going to end up anywhere or how it was going to happen. But I knew I knew, I saw what I wanted in my life on the other side, but I didn't know the vehicle to get there, you know? And so through a series of events, ended up selling cars. And that was the first time I actually started making the kind of money that wow, I can pay my bills. Oh, I can give my debit card to the grocery store and it's not going to be declined. That's new. Oh, I can go on a vacation. So this was like a new feeling for me, actually. My son was raised now. And also I was just more mature, and I had a new lifestyle. And so all of a sudden, when somebody said something to me one day, have you ever thought about going into real estate? And all of a sudden I heard the question, where before I never heard the question before, even though it was probably asked, And so I'm like, well, I guess I've thought about it. And then 3 months later, I was a realtor. Wow. and so then I during that time, I went to different brokerages, a couple different brokerages, just two really, to ask, like, what's my life going to be like as a real estate agent? How am I going to do that? How am I going to transition from selling cars to selling real estate? What will my lifestyle be like? And so I was like asking these kind of questions. I went to Coldwell Banker at first, and that managing broker, he was willing to spend a couple hours with me and talk to me about it and follow up with me. So I just, didn't even care about the numbers at the time. I didn't know what I didn't know. About splits and all that. And I just went with that. And I quit my car sales job on October 31st and started in real estate full-time November 1st. Wow. I did my first showing on November 6th, 2016, which will be a day that goes down in history. That I had some people that I used to sell cars to that saw me on Facebook that I now was a real estate agent, and they called me. And they said, oh my gosh, I see you're in real estate now. And we just fired our buyer's agent. We didn't sign anything with her, because I asked that question. And, it's not been working out, but there's a house we want to see, and we want to see it right now. And so I didn't have access to the MLS. Yeah, because I was brand new, I didn't even do my orientation. I didn't have the central lock key or whatever. I didn't know anything. And I called, I looked up the address on Zillow. I had no idea what I was doing. I called the agent on Zillow, who was actually just an agent who had purchased the lead, right? And I'm so sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. And she's like, oh, I'll give you the listing agent's number. So I called the listing agent, and the listing agent, I'm like, I don't know how to get in. I don't have a key. I don't know. I don't have the access. And she's agreed to meet me there and open the door. That was my first show. I mean, I just figured it out. I just plowed through and figured it out. And then went under a contract with my first deal, very quickly, like that, within the week of that time. And my first managing broker, he said, well, how am I going to learn all this? Because they didn't really do sales meetings, and they didn't really have a training program. He's like, look up Tom Ferry, just search Tom Ferry videos on YouTube, and that's how you're going to learn how to sell real estate. I'm like, okay. And that's what I did.
That's awesome. Wow. That's a really great story. I love to hear that. That's awesome. So is there a time that you ever wanted to quit?
No, there's been times when I was like, how am I going to keep making this work? So when, I was at Coldwell Banker, I sold 7 houses my first 4 months, which should be pretty good, right? You should be able to pay your bills on that, but I couldn't, because when I actually finally did the numbers, I realized that at Coldwell Banker, they were actually taking 60% of my commission. I only got to keep 40%. And our price point here was, especially at that time, was not high. Our average price point was $175 at the time. And so the lifestyle created for myself of just simply being able to pay all my bills, selling cars, I could not keep that up now with my, with real estate. Although I really should have been able to. It's just I was at the wrong brokerage, because they were not giving me leads. I was not on a team. This was all my own generated business. And so I actually, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to go back and sell cars. And so I did. I decided I was going to go back and sell cars for 6 months and do real estate at the same time. So, but I'm like, this is going to pass. This is going to be a Band-Aid. It's just a Band-Aid. And then I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off in 6 months. And that's what I did. And the day I joined EXP is the day I went back and sold cars. I did it for 6 months. And then after 6 months, I just ripped the Band-Aid off and have been here ever since.
Yeah. Yeah. So how have you evolved? I mean, it's been almost 6 years now, right? So how have you evolved? What is your role in real estate now?
So, I started, I'm an agent. I'm an active agent. I sell about 25 homes a year, and I probably could do a lot more. But what's happened is, I'm now coaching agents in the area of really technology and digital marketing and, using systems and mindset, a mindset to overcome using systems, and so what's happened is, I'm also a team leader. So I have a team, because I have more leads than I know what to do with, and I need that team. So I've got a team. I'm a team leader. I have a coaching business in which I coach agents how to use technology like KV Core and just how to have a digital presence online. And that's my life now. I started out just as a solo agent, watching Tom Ferry videos to where I am now.
Yeah, I love that the books really, really inspired you. And because that's same for me when I started getting into real estate, started really focusing on real estate. I really relied on the books.
Yeah. The mindset's so important. I mean, she probably right now sitting next to me is my cousin Laura. And she's in here in the room with me right now. And it's funny because that was a really pivotal time in my life when I actually lived with her and her husband, Tony, and their daughter. And my son was there with me and all my animals. Like, we moved in with them for a bit. It was right when I was in Traverse City, Michigan. And I wanted to go back to Boise, Idaho, because my mom had passed. There's really, I really wanted to move back to Boise, and that's what I wanted to do. My cousin Laura is like, why don't you just move in with us? For a couple months, it'll be like a launching pad, a stepping stone before you go back to Boise, because we haven't seen enough of you anyway. And so, through that time, I really couldn't get the funds together to move back to Boise. I couldn't make it happen. And my son he was a camp counselor, and he had made some friends. He's like, I don't think I want to leave West Michigan. Maybe you can go, but I'm not going to go. And I'm like, now I got to stay. Okay, I'll just stay. So I decided to start looking for jobs, and I did that. But during that whole time, it was several months of the whole summer. I used to listen to The Science of Getting Rich on YouTube. Every single night, I'd listen to it all night, over and over and over again. And that was one of it's probably super pivotal, life-changing books for me. And then, again, and I didn't even know like what I was doing or where I was going. I just needed to break through like this ceiling or this covering that was over me. And I don't really know where we're going with that question, but the pivotal books.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So tell me, what is Sylvia Dana's typical day?
Currently, it can be right now. It feels like back-to-back meetings, but it might be, when it comes down to just regular old real estate, I get a lead on KV Core. Somebody needs a phone call. I'll call them. Another agent calls me and says, hey, I have a referral for you. Can you take care of it? Yes, I will. Set up that showing, set up that listing appointment, set up that buyer's, consultation. And so I'm still doing those things. But a lot of it is a one-on-one meeting with one of my team members, hosting a team meeting, weekly team meeting with my team members. Since I'm a team leader as part of a mega icon team, and I'm one of several team leaders, like I'm this huge expansion team, I go to the team meetings there and our team coaching. And then I'm coaching agents as part of the Sylvia system, teaching KV Core and digital marketing. And so I'm hosting coaching sessions there. I'm also have several coaches myself. like multiple. And so I'm attending their calls and getting that training and working on my business, putting systems in place. And that's kind of like a typical day. I mean, really my calendar, like, so funny. I remember coming into EXP and one of the first classes I went to was on time blocking. Cause I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to follow a calendar. I really need to go to this class. But now I live and die by my calendar. Like my Google calendar is booked and it's like, okay, what's on my calendar next? Okay, got to do that. Okay, what's on my calendar next? And it's like, I just do what the calendar says I'm supposed to do. It's my boss.
100%. That's exactly where I'm at too. It's like, I need that Google calendar for sure.
Yeah.
How did you come to EXP?
So, when I was a global banker and I was kind of struggling, like I was telling you about, I just thought in my head, I was like, oh, it's not because I need to switch brokerages. It's just, I just need to sell more houses. Just need to sell more houses and then I'll make money and then I'll figure out this real estate thing, but really, I mean, I'd figured it out, but what was happening is, how it's like, what had happened is I sold the 7 houses my first 4 months. And then that wasn't enough money. I'm like, I couldn't take in enough money to pay my bills. And it was like, I think I was almost afraid to keep selling another house because it wasn't going to be enough anyway. And so I was like, didn't want to even do it. It was like a mental block. And so, but it's still in my head. I'm like, I just have to sell more houses. And so I was planning to have to go back and sell cars and just learn how to sell more houses. And I was really disappointed because I knew that I could do this. I knew I could do this business and I just was really disappointed. I couldn't make it happen. And I was disappointed I was going to have to go back and sell cars, but I'm just like, okay, it's just going to be 6 months. I'm only going to do it for 6 months. Well, during that time, I had met a colleague, Sierra, and she was a pretty new realtor as well. She'd been in a few more months than me, and she was at a small little brokerage. She had lived like about an hour away, 40 minutes away, in a different kind of market, the Lakeshore market near Lake Michigan, and I'm a little more inland. Well, she had met with a lender and said, hey, who do you know in Grand Rapids that I might like to refer some business to? Sometimes for buyers, I don't want to, service Grand Rapids buyers. Who would I like? And like, oh, you got to meet Sylvia. You'll hit it off with Sylvia. You and Sylvia will be great. And so we were, we hit it off. We talked about how maybe someday we could work together. Maybe we could open our own office. I mean, we talked about that. And then after a few months, she's like, my friend Tony over in Detroit, he told me about this company. I looked at it a couple of times. It looks interesting. I don't know. It's virtual. Everything is online. It looks really cool. But I'm so new. I don't know, And I'm like, oh, I'll never leave Coldwell Baker. I was like, I'm not leaving. I don't even know why I felt that way. But anyway, so we looked at it again and I looked at the numbers. And I was like, okay, out of the 7 houses I sold, I could have actually made $12,000 more and then wouldn't have to go back and sell cars and wouldn't be in this very stressful predicament I'm in of like getting things repossessed. So now it's just a no-brainer. And that extra $12,000 didn't even include any of the stock awards I would have gotten or, revenue share would have gotten from inviting other people. I mean, it didn't include in that, just like it was just the bare bones numbers of the 80-20 split. And, so I was like, well, that's stupid. So that's thing one. And then thing two, I saw, the collaboration because of how our model is really a web. If you do well, I do well, so I felt that, oh, this creates the synergy that I've been looking for, this feeling of that I can be on a team without being on a team. That was really attractive to me because I had been Coldwell Banker and I was like the rah-rah one. Like I was the new excited agent, like, hey, let's have a sales meeting. Let's do a training. Let's all have a home buyer seminar together. And these older agents are like, oh, you're making me tired. Can you just teach me dot loop, please? Because I still don't know how to do it. No matter how many times you teach me dot loop, I can't learn it. So anyway, I saw the, this kind of path of technology and innovation and collaboration and synergy that I just felt was a no-brainer for me. And so for me, that was almost the deciding factor. And then the money, more money was secondary. So the day I joined EXP, August 1st of 2017 is the day I went back and sold cars. But again, it was just for 6 months. And then now here we are.
Wow. Wow. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
Am I overwhelming you with my stories?
no, I mean, I was going to ask you, how's your life different from your prior, brokerage to joining EXP, but it sounds like it's night and day. Yeah.
It's not, I
Yeah.
can't even compare it. I mean, when you join EXP, your world really expands. I mean, the EXP, that's why we're EXP, everything grows exponentially. Your world expands. It's all about expansion, and in every single way. I know you now because of EXP. There's so many people I know. My world's just gotten so much bigger. In general, my mindset is just off the charts now compared to what it was, because of the people I get to hang around, especially too, the caliber of people. It's just my life's completely different.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to explain it, or, you think about other brokerages, they come from the mindset of, like, I don't want to tell you my secret, or I'm afraid you're going to take my business. Whereas EXP is like, I want to share. I want you
Right.
to grow. I want to help you. Or
Yeah.
I have found that to be the case a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So would you recommend then, I mean, EXP, their events and,
Yeah, I mean, so I remember my friend Rebecca, I recruited Rebecca. I didn't know her, but I joined EXP August 1st. I had my first lunch and learn August 17th, because I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. And I invited about 200 agents. And it was very odd for me because I'd only been a realtor for like 7 months. I was a nobody. I'd only sold 7 houses my whole career. Nobody knew me in the industry. Nobody knew who I was in my board. And I was the first person in EXP that was in my board. There were only 57 agents in Michigan total, and they were all in the Detroit area. So I was the first in Grand Rapids and GRAR, Greater Regional Alliance of Realtors. And my friend Sierra, she was in a whole different board, and she was the first in hers too. So we were both new agents, right? So nobody knew us. It was weird. And so we had this lunch and learn. So I just like kind of, I don't know, went through the MLS and chose agents' names that I liked. And I don't know, I called them, hey, doing this lunch and learn, future of real estate, want to come? And she was somebody who wanted to come. She's like, oh my gosh, I am really interested, but I can't come. I'm on a vacation. Can I meet you for lunch the week after I come back? I'm like, sure. So she was actually one of my first people that joined with me at that time. But I remember that was in that was like August of 2017. And I remember I think EXP Con was happening. We could not go. Like neither of us could afford to even fathom going. And I'm pretty sure same with shareholders the next spring, couldn't make it happen. And we looked at each other and like, we're never going to let this happen again. We are going to go to every event from now on forever. So now we're going to every event. Like, so I probably go to like 6-7 events a year now. Now, like EXP, we only have, shareholders in the spring and then EXP Con in the fall, but then we have other leadership events that other, big revenue share earners like Brent Gove and stuff put together these leadership events. And then, but back in the day, there were smaller ones, very small ones, like just with like 150 people and stuff. And they were really intimate and stuff early on in the early days of EXP. But once we started going to those and got to see the bigger picture and actually hang out with other people that were on the same path, and we saw what was possible. I remember, when was it? I think it was around August of 2018. I went to one of these smaller events, and it was in Arizona, around, I think it was like Scottsdale, Phoenix area, I'm not sure. And it was one of these kind of smaller leadership events. And I think there's probably 250, 300 people there. Gene Frederick was teaching some stuff. And, I remember Pat Hayes, who I'd gotten to know a little bit, and his wife Angel got on stage, and he was talking about, Pat was talking about how, when he started, he was a pretty new agent, how he had really taken off with revenue share. I mean, he had gotten like up to $50,000 a month in revenue share, and like within 2 years, and he told his wife, when we can get $55,000 a month in revenue share, and we've done that 3 months consecutively, I really want you to quit your job if that's what you want and just work with me building this business.
Mhm.
And she said, yes, that's what I want to do. And so they agreed, and they were just so close, and they did it shortly after that. But I remember Angel, and I might start crying just because I remember her emotion. They were a young couple, had kids, had worked really hard. She was in corporate America, and he had like tried all kinds of businesses and like lost tons of their money in the past, where she's like freaking out, like, oh my God, what are you doing? Why did I marry you? And so I remember she got on stage and she's like, you guys in this room, you all won the lottery. You are all here at the right time. You all came in at the right time, and you have all won the lottery. And it was like, I remember Rebecca and my friend Sierra, who I joined with. Mm-hmm. So the three of us were there, and we looked at each other, and I could feel it. I'm like, we have won the lottery. Like, we might not have it yet ourselves, but we felt it. Like it felt real for the first time, And so it was really exciting. But anyway, going to events, the whole point is so important because it's life changing every time.
Every time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Speaking of EXP, where do you see the outlook of our company going? Because you have been, on some advisory boards and
So, we have the EXP Agent Advisory Board at EXP, and now we have a global advisory board as well. Because now we're in other countries. When before we were just like in Canada, but now we're in multiple countries. And so, but I was on the regular US Canadian advisory board. There's 12 of us, and I served a 2-year term. And what we did there is, just get connected with the leadership and really make sure the leadership understood the frustrations, especially when we grew so fast. Remember, when I joined, there was only 3,900 agents total, and now there's 76,000 in such a short time, to help the leadership really stay connected to the heartbeat of the agents. That's what they wanted. We are an agent centric company. So that's what we did. I mean, but now that rolls over for me, which is nice. Now there's new leadership, but as far as where we're going to company, I mean, I'm just always amazed every day. Like I can't like, wow, we're doing that now. Wow, look at us go. Wow, we have that many agents, wow, our state is growing that big. Just, and it's so interesting. There's people in my community that, again, I was the first nobody in EXP, EXP agent in my area. And I remember that the president of our board at the time, how when you're new, you're kind of dumb and brave. It's like the dumb luck brave person when you're new. And I remember calling up and like, hey, you don't know me, but I know you're the president of our board. And, I'm in this company called EXP. I'd really like to tell you about it. He's like, oh yeah, I know the model really, really well. I'm like, yeah, okay. But he didn't. And that was years ago, right? That was in 2017. Well, it's just a couple months ago. Now he finally joined, and it's like, I told you, and so people now will come up to me like, I should have joined when you joined. I'm like, you can still join, come on, it's really interesting. But we're the future. I know there's a lot of other companies that maybe, we have a slightly different model, but they're kind of copycats, but maybe they do different things. Maybe EXP is not right for every single agent. You have to be a go-getter. You have to want it. You have to be a certain caliber of person. If you don't want to come play with us, then you don't have to. Everybody's going to come eventually. You might as well come.
Right?
Yeah, might as well come now.
Yeah. EXP's changed my life too. I've been here 3 years, and it's definitely, the opportunities and the wealth that I've already, created, and the relationships, like you said, they're priceless.
Yeah.
You and I met, book club, and became fast friends. And now we, room together at the events and pal around. And yeah, this company's life changing.
Absolutely.
It really is.
I know when you tell people that, they don't really get, it's hard to explain it.
Yeah.
they just have to see it or
Yeah.
catch the vision of it. And
But I also believe that it's what you put into it.
absolutely.
I mean, because if you go anywhere and you expect life to come to you, you might be disappointed, right?
Yeah.
Versus you go get it. You go get, like, you are so similar. You and I are so similar in the sense that we will find it.
We'll find
if there's
a way.
a will, there's a way.
Absolutely.
We will lift up every rock, to find
exactly.
an answer, right?
Exactly.
But that's the way we function. But there's some people that, expect things to come to them.
And that's just probably the industry of real estate. When you think about the turnover in real estate, what does NAR say? That 85% of the agents that will be here in 5 years aren't licensed yet. Because, because there's turnover, because a lot of it, people say, oh, they think real estate, oh, I'm going to be a real estate agent and that's going to make a lot of money. They don't realize, oh, I have to prospect.
Right.
Oh, I have to talk to people.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to learn how to close. Like, they have to learn some like sales skills. And those don't just come naturally necessarily. You have to kind of learn things, and you have to be a go-getter. Like the, sales aren't just going to fall from the sky, which would be nice. And sometimes they do over time they do, right? As you build your business, but not like in the first few years. So
you got to generate that and go, be resourceful. And so is there anything that you would want to just share with somebody, and before we close this interview up?
Like anybody who's thinking about becoming a real estate agent, or anybody any EXP, or and either way, no matter what, whether you're thinking about, it's kind of like what you and I just talked about already, whether you're thinking about getting into real estate or you're thinking about joining EXP or with a different company, just, this is a place where, this is a company, and it's an industry where you get to blaze your own trail, truly. And this, you envision what it is you want, how you can contribute. And if you come from a place of contribution, like, what's needed? How can I fill that? And if you just want to contribute, and that is enjoyable to you, and that you get energy from contribution and collaboration, this is the right industry for you, and this is the right company for you. And
I love it. All right. Well, thank you for letting me interview you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.